I think, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I know.
Technology, eh?
Yeah, it's just right. It's not live anyway. It's recorded, so that's fine. Here we go. Oh, hi. Welcome to the Interdimensional Voyages podcast. And if you want to watch it on YouTube, it's Dogman Teepee Hunting. My name is Phil, and I have with me today Mr. Ian Wood. And he's an experiencer, but of Dogman, more so of a pack of Dogmen. And nice to meet you, Ian. Hiya.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh,
You all
no,
right?
no. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
It's really interesting. We have spoken a little bit
yeah,
before this about your experiences. It would be nice if I could jump straight in and just ask you to give a background of how this started for you, how you came to be acquainted with this cryptid called the Dogman. Is that
Well, actually, back in about 2015 time, um, I was put onto a shift system, so I was doing nights and days. So the building I work in takes about 2 hours to walk around, and I wanted to find something to listen to. So I came across Vic Cundiff's Dogman Encounter, so I started listening to that. And in light of that, when I visit my grandmother, I take the back roads from Reading up to Whitney. And as I'm gradually listening to all these different stories, they talk about tree sign or what they do to trees, same as the Bigfoot or Survey people. And as I'm driving through these woods, I start thinking, oh, that's exactly what such and such said in that show. So one day, Christmas Day, which I think was a Sunday, 2016, a lot of thick fog around running. I decided to go up to a place called Chasey Heath, and I parked near a pub called the Pack Horse, which is very good. And
okay?
there was no one there. So across the road, now where the wood starts, it's like a triangular point, because
Yeah.
next to this wood, there's a single track road that goes up to a farm, and on the left of that, there's a field. So I walk into the woodland and I start looking around, and all these trees are snapped over or bent over. And I caught movement out the corner of my left eye. Now, whatever it was clearly 2 foot bigger than me. As I turned round to look at it, it turned back into the fog. And I caught the right side of the shoulder and the right side of its head. And I was like, okay, that is definitely is or what it is. And I got in the car and went home. So come the first weekend of January 2017, I go to a place called Nooney Green, and it's like 6 or 7 different woods all linked together. So I call it collectively Nooney Woods.
Okay.
And I park up in this lay-by, and I go down a footpath, and there's a den. There's like a type of shelter, and sat there right next to the path, probably about 3 to 5 foot from me, sat on its haunches, about 4 or 5 foot tall, was one of these wolves. It didn't even look around at me, but I saw it, and I looked at it, and I was just captivated by the coat, because it had a centre point right down the middle of its back, and the coat was immaculate, but there was no shine to it. It was dull.
Okay.
But it was well kept. There was no smell. There was no stink, because normally you hear like these
Yeah.
things smell absolutely vile. And I was just looking at its back. But
And it saw you. It saw you,
no,
Ian.
no, it just didn't even turn its head. I mean, it must have noticed I was there.
Hmm.
But I was just fixated on looking at this coat, and it had a center point down the middle. It was long hair, but it was the black. It's just like blacker than black. But the coat was immaculate, but there was no shine to it. It was like a dullness to it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's the only way I can describe it. So I
Yeah.
thought, okay, that's that for the today. So I got a car, went
Okay.
home, went round to another part of the woods Sunday, and I'd actually listened to a program where a chap's describing a birthing den when he'd been hunting. This is somewhere in America. And lo and behold, walking along, literally what he physically described, I'm looking at, and I took some pictures.
Hmm.
And it's only months later, when I was going through them, that there's a muzzle. You can see the nose and the muzzle sticking out the top of the tree, looking down at me. And that was a birthing den. So the next time would have been,
Ian,
yeah.
Do you mind me asking something? Were you aware of the Dogman phenomenon before you saw what you saw at the pub?
Well, put it this way. I mean, I've always been a fan of horror films, and I always believe that in certain legends and myths, there's always an element or a kernel of truth.
Yeah.
In the foundation of that story or myth. And obviously, finding Dogman encounters. So what they're talking about is a werewolf. Now, we're not talking about a human changing, which is a lycanthrope.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't dismiss that, because kind of when you start going down the rabbit hole, you start suddenly realizing that there's a lot of stuff that could be possible. But anyway, getting back, they call him the Dogman, and then over here we call him the werewolf.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, were means man in Old English, in Anglo-Saxon. So, man-wolf.
Yeah.
So, werewolf. And then going back further, one of the earliest terms I could find was called Blayeka Skuka, which means great terror. Look, roughly, there's different meanings or interpretations of it, but basically it means like great terror. And Skuka could be the root word for shook or shuka, which is used in Norfolk and Suffolk.
Hmm.
And then you get the devil dog and all the rest of it. But basically, we're talking about an upright walking canine that has the physical attributes of walking on two legs as well as four.
Yeah.
And the four legs sort of double up as arms, because, I mean, any account or witness you read or listen to, we always mention the hands.
Yeah.
The almost finger-like front paws or
Yeah.
hand. Well, they are. I mean, they are hands.
No, I'm sorry. You sent me a picture of a handprint as well.
Yeah, that was at work. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I put that up on the screen in a little
Yeah,
while?
I sent you a wee transfer of
Yeah.
of a collection. I mean, I've got loads more, but
Okay.
but I thought I'd send you what I thought would be, clearly show as best as possible, because
Yeah.
I mean, you can. There's been times when you think, oh right, you've got to have your camera or phone ready,
Hmm.
and they always seem to know when it's not at the ready, and then they come out and they do something, and by the time you get ready to record or take a picture, they're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just seem to have this knack of knowing when. So, um,
So you had the encounter on twice now, and they were aware of you but weren't looking at you on the second one.
no,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
the more I started getting into it, then I started getting like sometimes I would get this real sense of hatred, like you are filth on my shoe, and then sometimes I'd get this distinct feeling of indifference, like couldn't care less. And then I started getting, I had things thrown at me. I mean, one time I'm walking through the woods and something hit the back of my left heel, and I thought, oh, maybe I walked along and flipped something up, and then I had something hit my right heel, and then it's my left and right, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And then I eventually go, oh, all right, you silly sods. Okay, you've had your fun.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, but, it was being growled at, I've been snorted at. I mean, the first time I had one come right up to the back of me and snort cold air next to my head. It was nearly underpants tight. But the second time it happened, it was just like, oh, please, bugger off. But I've had one, I think 2018. I'm in bed and I'm lying on my left side, my right shoulder exposed with the right arm over the cover. And I felt like this needle-like thing prodding me on my upper right shoulder. Then I felt cold breath on my face. And then I heard it walk to the end of the bed. And I thought, right, okay, I'm going to count to 10 and I am going to scream like a big girl.
Right.
So I,
Wow. I don't blame you. Not at all.
I
Yeah.
counted to 10, opened my eyes, there was nothing there.
Oh my word.
But I distinctly heard it go bum, 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 bum.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, there has been that episode with the Hexum Heads where the Hexum Heads were taken by archaeologists and kept in her house.
Yeah.
And she was, definitely a woman of good standing. And she had
Yeah,
a lot of letters
yeah.
after her name. A lot more letters after her name than I certainly have.
Mm,
Not the same letters, maybe, but so and she gave testament that this tall beast came into her home,
yeah.
and I
They
think it
do.
was her daughter as well, wasn't it, who witnessed it?
Yeah. Yeah, she's an
Um,
archaeologist.
yeah, that's right, archaeologist. Yeah, she was. Yeah,
That's
studying the heads.
I think that's the early 80s that
Yeah, I
occurred.
think it was. Yeah, I think it was very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
But no, they'll come into your house.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've had them looking through the window. I mean, one time I was outside the front of the house having a fag, and then I felt like this on top of my head. Again, the claw thing, like
Mm.
doing that. And I look up, nothing there.
Ian, Ian, how do you think they get into the house? You don't.
Oh,
You don't. You obviously. I mean, we leave. We leave a window open at night
yeah.
on the first floor. But it's one of those UPVC windows with a catch, so you can't open it fully unless you manipulate the catch, which
Mm.
will be awkward from the outside anyway to open it. We don't leave any windows open downstairs, and definitely no doors open. So, how does something which is estimated to weigh in excess of 300 kilos, perhaps?
I don't know. I mean, I tell you this. I'm sure there might be one or two of your viewers out there that may have had the same experience. If you ever experience like a really beautiful floral smell around you,
Mm.
that's a female in that room with you.
Okay.
Right. I've had that at work. I've had that at home. I mean, when I've been driving, I've had the smell of wet dog in the car. I mean, my missus will. I mean, one time she called me. She goes, "I can smell." We don't own dogs, by the way. Okay, we don't own cats. I
Okay.
mean, the only thing closest to a pet was a goldfish at one time. But one day afternoon, I'm at work. She calls me. She goes, "I'm leaving the house. There's like a really bad smell of wet dog in the house." She went for 2 hours. In April, in April, um, 2020,
Yeah.
uh, she came home from work, and there was a juvenile about 5 foot tall, in the back garden walking around. She told me she starts banging on the window to shoo it. Like you see a cat in the back garden, it's not yours, and you bang on the
Mm.
window and like shoo.
Yeah.
He said it came up to the back door to be let in. She ran upstairs, had locked herself in the toilet.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I am pretty sure there's a lot of people out there have experienced where they come to the front of the house or looking in through the back of the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how they get through. I mean, last year, I think March one, early hours, Monday morning, 2:10, we have a double security lock on the front door, and we heard both latches get flipped and the front door open. I went downstairs to see what was what. There was nothing.
Wow. That is scary. How do you feel about this? How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel intimidated? Do they
No,
make you feel, are
no,
you now
no,
complacent to it because it happens so often?
no. I'm the missus. She's just what started out as a bit of a laugh. You know, it's a bit of a sticking point, you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, one time we go to Barossa Common, when it was during the height of COVID, and there was certain limited travel restrictions. When they had the zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went to Barossa Common one Sunday in March, and we could hear these howls, and it's on the back of an army married estate, and you can hear these howls, and everyone's just carrying on as normal. Me and the missus like looking at each other. And I said, "You did hear that?" She went, "Oh yeah." And
And
there is a army housewife on one of the cryptid. I think it was on BBR, saying, "Oh yeah, you hear them all night. They hear them every night howling."
okay.
And believe you me, it's a hell of a set of lungs on these things.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, one of the pictures I sent you, the one where it's looking in between the trees at me,
Uh-huh.
and that's from Barossa Common.
Wow. And that's quite close to houses, people,
Oh
population?
yeah, yeah. I mean, Barossa Common is a huge area. I mean, some of it's MOD, but you've got um, the Army Officer Training School, Sandhurst,
Yeah.
just just across the way,
Okay.
and there's some incredible structures there.
Oh, really?
Believe me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
What do you
mean,
make of these structures, Ian, that you've seen? Because I've documented things like, teepee structures. Now, not everyone is, you know, I put down to cryptid made. Some of it is bushcraft, but others I'm not so sure about because it is quite deep into the woods. I've travelled an hour and a half in
Yeah.
to find these structures. And the most intriguing ones are the ones which are in a star shape, and of no bushcraft use at all. They're not covered. There's they haven't been no spud has been used to take off the sharp edges or be
Mm.
debark them for any tarp to go over the top without ripping. And they're very odd patterns.
Yeah.
Have you come across these yourself?
Yeah. 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 I mean, um, I mean, some of them I found. One I sent to you. It was right. It was literally about 3 foot from the main entrance to the German cemetery from Cannock Chase.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's just the way they're built. I mean, yeah, no self-respecting Boy Scout would build something like that. Not
No.
just because I mean, the first thing is warmth and shelter. So you're going to pad it, because when you look at these structures, obviously they've got gaping holes in them, so the wind's going to cut through.
Yeah.
So obviously, if it's human made, it's going to have some form of protection, whether it be
Yeah.
earth sodding or some extra, branches. I mean, like off a pine tree.
Mm.
You can overlap or integrate. Overlap with. I tell you one thing. There was, like I say, I go out in all elements.
Yeah.
But one time I was out in Ninny Woods and it was an absolute, I mean, a real torrential downpour. And one of the structures hadn't been used for a long time, and I got in it, and I didn't get wet. I was just like, how the fudge? It's
But did it have ferns over the top? Was it
no,
covered?
it was just no, it's long since disused, but it was partially up against a tree, but there were still bits where the rain could get through.
Mm.
But I got in it, I just got in it, and I didn't get wet. I mean,
Do you-
last it's earlier this year? No, last February, March. I went to another section of Nurney Woods, and it was just lashing it down.
Mm.
And I stood under a tree, and not more than maybe 20 feet, there was an 8-footer doing exactly the same thing. I tried to take, I got some pictures of it, but because the rain's hitting the screen, but it's doing the same thing. It didn't want to get wet, which surprised me.
Yeah.
So because
I'm
you
sure
kind of
that
think,
would. I'm sure that would. That would surprise me.
so kind of thinking that the kind of coating that they have, they're well protected for the winter and all the rest of it.
Mm.
But no, it was just under the tree, trying to do the same thing as me, just trying to try and stay dry as possible.
It's funny, and I spoke to a friend of mine. I work with her, and she is a senior operative in the ACF, Army Cadet Force.
Oh, right.
Yeah, in the wannabes. But she takes
Yeah.
kids out, and she does a lot of bushcraft with them.
Mm.
And I showed her photos and videos of the bushcraft that we see. Some of it quite deep in, hasn't got any canopy over the top.
Mm.
Quite. The thing is that they're built in a manner which is universal, the same in every forest that you can possibly go to,
Yeah.
no matter where. I've been in Scotland, seeing the same type of build, and they are still the same when it comes to being useless for bushcraft.
Yeah.
And I showed her these photos in a video, and I said, "Oh, well, but is it something you would make?" She said, "Some are, but we would cover them up. We would fern them, like you said. We'd fern them.
Mm.
We'd make them a bit more windproof, waterproof." But she said one of the things that we teach is one of our ethoses is leave no trace. We would
Yeah.
never leave it up like that and
Yeah.
walk away.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know.
one of the what some of the females do. I actually found yesterday what I call an upside down tree den. That's where they rip the top of a tree off and then go to another tree and then just shove it in through the top.
Yeah, my work. Yeah, incredible.
And this is the second example, but this time because it's females who do it, and this time whoever did it had actually ripped the top of two trees off and then shoved them in the top of another tree. And basically, then they stick the cubs in there. Another thing they do, obviously, besides burrowing, is when they push a tree over and
Yeah.
then they cover the canopy that's hit the ground, they cover it up with debris. But underneath that, there's a burrow. So it's pretty hard to get to.
Okay.
And the other thing they do, especially like with like pine trees, they will knock one or two, sometimes three, over, and they will overlap them or stagger them. And then somewhere in there, there'll be another burrow. Now, they also do, a friend of mine who lives on the outskirts of Swindon, there was a small wooden copse that had a huge den, but it also had a huge burrow. And my mate, he's about 6'4", and he said if he was on his hands and knees, he would just go straight in there, straight out. And he said the whole area was just covered with bones. So when he was telling me this, I was like, okay, I'll come up when I can. So I eventually drove up there and he showed me around it. All the bones had been cleared and the burrow had been packed in. But the den, the structure was still there.
But the burrow had been filled in.
Filled in, all the bones had been cleaned out.
And that's in the space of what? Between telling you and you coming up.
But yeah, so I mean, it was about 6 months before I managed to get up there. But you
Okay.
still kind of think there would be some
You would, yeah.
some
Yeah.
evidence that that, but the structure was still there.
And that's a big burrow. If your
Yeah,
friend
yeah,
was
yeah,
6 foot, over 6 foot, to get hands and knees still, you're still talking him hands and knees, maybe about 2.5 foot in height,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Easy.
I've come across and a lot more recently, uh in the old like World War II and Vietnam films where you see like a
Yeah,
man trap on the ground and it's covered up with but it's got branches and sticks laid
yeah,
across
yeah, yeah,
horizontally, and they almost look like smaller versions of railway sleepers put across, and then leaves over the top bedded in. It's like a man trap.
yeah.
One that
I call them.
you don't want to. I don't want to step on it in because I think, oh, I don't know. It goes quite deep.
Yeah, they're called ambush pits, and I've only seen two examples. One was a picture you sent to me,
Mm,
I think, and another
yeah,
one where basically, like I say, it's they dig a pit about 4 foot down, quite, it's almost like 7 foot long,
yeah,
and probably about 6, 7 foot wide, but it's about 4 foot deep. And normally, because they somehow seem to compress their rib cage, so they get in low, and it's near like an animal trail, and obviously, Bambi comes skipping along, and suddenly the big bad wolf jumps up and grabs it. But I've only one example where I've seen where like long uh, branches have been laid and then leaves laid across the top. But normally they're left open, but in such a way that if you're walking along, you won't see it until like the very last
yeah.
step. I like to say one of the things I've seen was it last year? Yeah, summer last year. I went for the day and just having a cuppa and a sandwich, and maybe about probably about 100 meters off to my let's see, probably 10 o'clock. Some deer walking through the trees, and all of a sudden this huge black arm just came out. I knew the area where it was hiding because it's quite extensively overgrown, but this huge black arm just came right out like a earth digger and rolled this deer like in a judo roll, and then just grabbed it, and all the other deer just bomb burst, gone. So obviously, straight away I pack up and I go down there, and I was like nothing happened. There's nothing there, but I mean, the one I told you about, the one I call Mr. Grumpy, November
Yeah,
2018.
yeah,
Walking
interesting.
around, I'm just like, I know there's one here, and I walk off to the left. It's raining, it's miserable, it's cold. Pour a cup of coffee. 3 deer off to my left, walking from left to right up the pathway, and he'd been in the tree right above me where I'd been walking around. And he jumped out. He was completely black, white stripe right down the middle of his back. From the moment he leapt out, hit the ground, went off to the right, it was a blink of an eye.
Yeah,
I kid you not, a blink of an eye. But of the 3 deer, 2 ran back. So obviously I was like, oh my
yeah,
God, this
yeah,
is
yeah.
awesome. And straight away I ran over to where I think he made the kill. Nothing. So I think he must have just grabbed it under his arm and just kept on running.
Okay. Do you find any? I found in the past, not to be too grotesque, I won't post any pictures, but limbs. I found like deer legs,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
completely sanguinated, no blood at all in the surrounding
yeah.
area, none. And yet the skin, you can tell, had not been. It's almost odd. Part is, I found when I found these legs, they were. It was 2 separate occasions, and instead of it, this leg was just laying there, no blood anywhere around.
Mm,
And the odd part of it was it wasn't or hadn't been or started being eaten by any flies, maggots, anything else. Nothing. It was almost like it had just it, nothing would touch it.
yeah, yeah. I mean that. I think one of our previous conversations, I was telling you about the deer I found
Mm,
up in May Lane, and as I say, they whatever it just basically extended it cut like a hole where the anus should be.
yeah,
Like it was big enough to reach inside and just pull everything out. And it seemed like the neck had been broken, but there was no blood, and it was just there. Nothing like nothing else would touch it. Now I found deer limbs, sheep skeletons in the
mm,
woods. There's plenty of sheep around where Nooney Woods is. There's a lot of farming, um, and I think 2014 we had an incident where 120 sheep were killed in one night. 20 were killed and eaten. The other 100 had been run to the point of exhaustion, where they all died from heart attack.
really,
And I was telling you about that incident at Suffolk Farm outside
yeah,
Macclesfield in Cheshire.
yeah,
And
yeah.
10 were killed. Three were eaten. And this guy telling me, he said the bite mark on the rump, it was in its jaws. A full-grown size sheep,
Yeah,
and the jaws were big enough to hold the rump of the sheep, while the legs were physically pulled out.
incredible, absolutely incredible. Do you think that? Do you think that the difference between the males and females, is there a size difference for a start between the two?
Um, normally you would think so, but I've seen the biggest female I've seen is about 9 foot. I mean,
Gee,
there are,
wow.
there are some big males. I've had one of the pictures I sent you. Is when those two juveniles were practicing cloaking,
Yeah,
and right in front of me, you can make out the eyes and the side of the head and part of the right arm. That was over 12 foot, but that was right in front of me, and I didn't realise it was there until I started going through the pictures. I mean, Big Boss, the one I told you about previously was. I've only ever seen him twice, and on all fours, he was about the size of a 4-ton Bedford Army truck. But his face was, he must have been really old because his face was just like seen it, done it 10 times over.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
yeah,
differences. What are they more? Are they more aggressive? Do you think? The females. So I think there's a bit of a. I personally don't think they are aggressive. I've been in woods, quite deep in woods and forests, and you get that feeling. I go with gut feeling an awful lot.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost
yeah,
like uh, uh, something which I trust more than I do my head.
yeah,
Um, and I've heard close by growling, um,
yeah,
and I've caught things as well. I've caught
yeah,
stuff on video, and once again, they're expert camouflage, expert at cloaking.
mm,
I'm not sure how they do it, but they're absolutely expert at it. But you just know in your gut they're there.
yeah.
But I've
I,
never been threatened.
I've had only once when in 8 years where I felt really, really. I knew if I kept on going, I'd be lunch.
Mm,
But just going back, I sent you a picture of a cub in a den.
yeah, I'll put that
Uh,
up now. Yeah.
yeah, when I took that, I was about 3 to 5 foot away. That's the one I gave the smoky bacon to,
Okay.
and that's when I got that snort of disgust from the mother behind me, and the father was off to the left behind the bushes looking at me. But I never felt threatened.
Yeah.
I think if I tried to take it, I would have been.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's just the way I felt, it was like, sometimes you have that annoying neighbour that comes round. You just got to put up with him or her for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
While they just rattle on about whatever, and you pretend to be nice. It was that kind of situation because I
Mm,
went back the following Sunday. Um, this time I had a bag of dog food with me, and really expensive stuff. And I tried to take a picture, and this time it said where it's got its arm, and it went like that. Straight out, I was like, "Oh my god, that is so cute! Oh look, oh yeah."
yeah. Bless.
I just went to bush, but the adult set the dog food, and so obviously I thought, "Oh, okay, this is a good positive sign." So next time I bought a bigger bag, but cheaper food. They didn't
Yeah.
even eat it. They didn't touch it.
Mm.
So they seem to know I was being a bit of a cheapskate that time.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
It
look,
certainly sounds that way.
yeah,
Certainly sounds that way.
I used to take sausage rolls. Sometimes they'd eat the lot, and then sometimes they'd literally, you can see where they've cut down the side,
Yeah.
taken the sausage out and left the pastry.
Mm.
Which is,
Yeah. You see, it's funny, but we kind of, when we go out, um, we're we have encampments in concrete, basically, like the
Yeah.
oh, cowboys used to like kind of, the Indians were attacking the other rally the wagons around, and we basically we live in large villages of concrete,
Mm.
surrounded by all this green belt and forests and stuff. And we then go, usually weekends, we get packed up, heavy boots, heavy backpacks, going out, trudging around looking for these things. And do you know, a lot of times we take our phones with. I certainly do. I take my phone with me.
Mm.
Um, Now, whether they know, they can spot us miles away.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure
Oh,
we're there.
yeah, yeah.
They know. They know. They only reveal themselves if they choose to be revealed.
Yeah,
That's truth. Honestly, I believe this.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's not to say, like, a lot of people have chance encounters, where there's it's not deliberate, it's more accidental.
Mm.
Because I mean, even going back, through any written record going back, maybe 1,000 years, they're always mentioned. That they've always been a part of this country's history. Whether it's from during the Breton phase, and then you have the sort of slow Anglo-Saxon migration from
Oh yeah, yeah.
Norfolk stuff. So they've always been mentioned.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, going back through the years, they were originally. There's a school of thought that believe the cynocephali they predate them. They kind of like originate from the cynocephali, which are dog-headed people with more
yeah,
human bodies. Um, I'm not saying I agree with that. I don't really agree with that at all. But
yeah,
it could, you are quite right though. In folklore, British and European, Germanic countries, there is, wood carvings. They're even on churches.
yeah,
The same as wood woses.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Usually holding a club.
yeah. I mean, I think there was one. I think during the time of Henry III, one was captured up on the east coast, and it somehow managed to escape. Um, there was more recently, regarding woodwose, the 15-footer that was spotted on the beach in Norfolk. Repeatedly, that was in the newspaper, the Daily Mirror. It was seen
Yeah.
by 20 odd people, and I mean, there's you got to Scotland, somewhere in the Highlands, they call him the Grey Man, and they're supposed to be cannibalistic.
Mm.
A lot of roadside campers have gone missing up there.
Yeah, that's another thing. You see, it's like a lot of people who have gone missing. That wood wose that was spotted on the beach. I believe the description of it moving was like a lot of descriptions in the States of
Yeah,
the footers when they say that it moves and it glides. This
yeah,
thing was gliding along the beach. It was like kind of the way it walked. Its gait was such that it kind of was linear.
yeah,
There was no up and down bouncing like we normally do as we walk. Um, Very strange, very odd indeed. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you know, it's uh, it's one of those things which I think, um, if in your experience in when you're out, do you feel a sense of um, responsibility for them because you have so many encounters
yeah,
and because you have they have made themselves known to you?
yeah,
Do you feel a sense of responsibility for them from
yeah,
the
yeah.
point of view of not, if you knew their encampment, you wouldn't tell anyone with their encampment.
No. If I mean, like Nooney Woods, they seem to be spread right across. There's no one central point. So obviously they seem to disperse into different heights, but there does seem to be a central area where they do congregate. But
Can I ask, how many do you think are in? I would call them a pack, but I'm probably wrong. How many would be in, if they disperse, if they're in groups? How many would you say are in a group in your experience?
Well, Nooney, where I got, I'd say there's probably about 20, around 20.
That many?
Yeah, and then certainly where I live, there's certainly 4 round Southcott in the marshland there. There's a group west of Reading in Sullen Woods. Some knocking around, but I've still yet to find where they reside on the eastern side of the town. But then again, you're going out towards Henley and then Barossa Common. Obviously, Cannock Chase Pack. I think certainly the most famous pack in the country. There's a large one. Where you go to the Forest of Dean and Glasshouse in Gloucestershire, then you get Severn River, then you go into South Wales, you go up to Sahawi Forest, and then further down southwest. One chap I was talking to, he's ex-police. He's had 3 encounters with them, but he was saying it's all the same pack. Even with the ones going up to the Brecon Beacons.
Okay.
But they said that the hunting turf would be sort of within a 30-mile radius of wherever you see them the most. It's sort of like a 30-mile.
Okay.
And they're omnivores as well. Yeah.
So they don't. I was going to ask that because people believe that they migrate and follow prey like deer. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah. Funny you mentioned that, because I brought that up in one of the videos I did yesterday or the day before. And the ones I've noticed, they tend to stay put. Like, this is our turf. And I think maybe somewhere in America, they probably, there are migratory packs of werewolves that do follow, like some of these huge herds of deer. But in Nooney Woods, we've got four different herds of deer. I still trying to find the pictures, I say in the field. They're in all round defence, and you've got one deer looking off to the left and one deer looking after the right, like they're on guard duty. And there's a hedge, and just sticking its head over the top of the hedge, you can see this black outline of a black canine. I mean, deer, I would say, are their staple eggs and bacon. Yeah, it's there, but rabbits, but pigeons. I find a lot of dead pigeons in the woodland. You see where they've been plucked. It's not like where the tip of the feather is intact. It's not been gnawed through, so it's not squared off. It's like it's been pulled.
And I remember you mentioning to me something about swans as well.
Yeah, up in Winsford, a mate of mine, David Bunt, he's you find whole wings of swans just floating in the water. He said the one time he actually saw it, he said he just got a hold of this swan, ripped the wings out, and then stomped on it, and then ate it.
So they really don't like swans.
No, they don't like dogs, and they have a very, very unnatural hatred to cats. They kill and torture cats.
Do they?
Yeah, I mean, dogs are like a happy meal,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But cats, they just really, you know, they really are sadistic with cats.
Strange, isn't it? Strange. You get this? I remember going Okefenokee Swamp and when I was in the canoe over there, and there's a guy with a gun behind with a rifle, and he was telling me about the gators, and they said the one thing that is inherently in them that they will attack, and there's no stopping them, and that is dogs. If they see a
Yeah,
dog, an alligator will go for a dog, no matter what. Not necessarily
yeah,
for food. It will just kill a dog.
yeah,
Strange.
yeah. It's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Ian, with these experiences you've had, have you had, because you've had a lot of them where they've come up really close to you and breathed, and you can feel them breathing. I have to ask you, have you ever heard any mind speak, or have you heard them at all?
Dreams. In my dreams, not mind speak, but visual images. I mean, the two most realistic ones. One where I had one like literally eyeballing me, and another time where one walked up to me and I was allowed to stroke it, but it felt like I was actually there. But I get a lot of visual imagery in dreams.
Right.
And
Can we just stop you there just for a minute?
yeah,
So is this in your dream? You went up, it came up to you and you went stroke it, but there was nothing there, or
yeah,
is
but it felt like I was physically doing it.
right?
And
Okay.
another time, another one was just like this pair of huge golden eyes were just like a big black wolf's head, just like really intensely eyeballing me. No threat. It was just like, who are you? That's it. He was trying
Yeah.
to figure me out. And all the other times, it's like peeking around trees or just like bits of woodland I've been to, and you know they pop out and stand there, stuff like that. So, but no mind speak as such.
No.
No, I'm not. I mean,
And in
I've had.
general,
I tell you
sorry.
what, I have had. I've had like uh, this. You know, you're walking along and suddenly like you get this feeling like over here, over here, and you know, I just go off. But
Okay.
not like I just have this great sense to sort of turn and go over here and you'll find something.
Yeah.
But the like I said in a previous conversation, the only time where maybe or something close to it, like I say, I was walking along and I just suddenly had this urge to start messing around with my banking app on the phone. I'm still
Yes.
walking
I
along.
remember us talking about this. Is strange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I walked up a pathway where I wanted to go, but I was just. And even today, I don't know why suddenly I had this urge to start messing around with this banking app, and I get to a point where I sit down on an embankment, and then I find myself trying to re-register, and I'm getting more frustrated with myself. And I don't know how long this lasted, and eventually I'm registered and everything's okay, and I was like, what the, you know. So I walked down the pathway, and as I walked back out, I must be about 300 meters further down from where I walked up, and for about a good couple of minutes, I was really the initial like 20, 30 seconds, I was like, where the hell am I? You know, I'll admit, I was a bit afraid because I was like, where the hell am I? And then, you know, gradually I was like, oh, I know where I am, but I should be back up there, you know?
Yeah.
And I did walk back up and I was like, how, because this pathway is the only one up. There's no pathway that branches off and takes you down to the point where it came out. And I still, even to this day, don't know. But it's just that point where...
Yeah. Do you know, I think honestly that part of the reason why you get two types of people: those who've experienced and it hooks them and the experiences carry on, and it's almost like they tag you. And you've got those which can be a dog walker going in the same woods that I've met, and I've gone up to them. Oh, hiya, yeah. Have you seen anything in these woods? Like, you've been here, but how long have you been walking your dog here? Oh, I've been here walking my dog for the past 25 years. Haven't seen a thing. Haven't seen a thing.
No.
But I think it's a case of going back to the question where we looking out for these things. Hypothetically, if I've wondered this, if we kind of like said, right, okay, I have proof they exist, and I've got proof, and I showed the world, I still think there'd be no worry for them about us, because I think they are more intelligent than we realize.
Yeah.
They are able to manipulate their environment or themselves within the environment.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think, because I've thought about it so many times, I thought to me that, what if I did get proof? What if I did get proof? And I went, right, okay, the only proof really that would satisfy anybody would no longer be video, would no longer be pictures, because they can be manipulated to a certain degree.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. But it would have to be either flesh or hair or limb or an actual dead carcass of one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. There was Jonathan McGowan. He's the top cat guy, big cats in the country. And several years ago, him and some guys in a transit van going down somewhere near Bovington. There was a 9-footer lying dead in the road, been hit by a truck. Now he said, oh, it was a hybrid between a cat and a dog, because the legs were canine, right? And he took 4 pictures. I think they're available on his website. And the head's squashed, but it's canine. And I rang Jonathan, and maybe I was a bit too overzealous at the time, because I was like so excited. I said, mate, no, it ain't a cat, it's a werewolf. And you probably thought, who the hell's this nutter? But he said he went back to get a trailer, and when him and his buddies turned up, there was 2 army trucks and 20 squaddies dragging this thing and putting it on the back of one of the trucks, and it was gone.
Yeah. Well,
I think he's famous. Yeah. I remember years ago, I think he's famous for doing a roadkill recipe book.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
He's one of these good old West Country boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. With Tristram out of when oh blimey, what is it? The Vets.
Cooking.
Yeah. Oh god, I always remember in All Creatures Great and Small, and they went for a breakfast, and an old local farmer, because he just had his arm up a sheep or something that it had, and he gone, my wife will do you a lovely He went and had a massive, great, thick wedge of bacon, like a steak. He had.
Yeah,
Yeah, they know how to eat. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, yeah, I remember the recipe book.
yeah. He had his he had his freezer stuffed with squirrels, badgers. he,
Yeah.
he, he was he was doing stews, pies, the lot.
Mm,
You know.
yeah.
And then there was a shot where he's actually walking around with a plastic carrier bag, looking for dead animals, and he could literally tell how long they'd been dead. He said no, that one, it's been there. You know,
Yeah.
he said, so. But no, he's a real stand-up guy, Jonathan.
Yeah. Was he was he there when the army came?
Yeah, he said when he pulled up, they got the trailer, and him and his buddies were going to drag the body and take it away. He said, but when they got there was 20 squaddies and 2 army trucks, and they were lifting this thing into the back of one of them.
You see, it all makes sense. I mean, you think about our lives, really, and with what I'm talking to you on, and doubtless what you're talking to me on these phones,
Yeah,
and our humanity slowly dripping away because years ago we would have met face to face.
yeah,
Now we don't do that. We live such insular lives, and it's not us doing this. It's basically the way technology is and the way that it's worked its way into. We're very good at picking up. I surprisingly good at how we picked up with technology,
yeah,
computers. You know, to the extent now that we kind of don't know what is going on in the world
yeah.
unless we look at a screen.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, if I arrange to meet up with someone, I'll do. So like, okay, I want to meet somewhere, your neck of the woods. I will drive there.
Mm, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I mean, a couple of times I met with Colin up in Yorkshire for the day. I leave here 3:30, 4 o'clock, because it's like almost like a 3.5, 4 hour drive. I will do that in a day.
Mm. What
Um,
I was just getting at the point in that we kind of are stuck in this thing now with this tech that we've got, where
mm,
it's making us more and more insular, reliant on it,
yeah,
and it's almost like a feeling to me. It's almost like it's a perpetual lockdown, whereby, in a way, majority of people, because they don't go out there, they don't go out in the field, they don't
yeah,
go looking, they don't. It's almost like it's kind of if someone came up with an idea of, right, okay, how can we? This is going on, but we need to hide it. How are we going to do it? How are we going to stop them going out? I know. We'll make interactions online.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it almost seems like it's a bit of a.
Slow breakdown of social contact, because I mean we are social animals.
Mm,
More like distance. It's easier to send a text or an email as opposed to a phone call or even a video call. I mean, at work, it's like, oh, you need to get hold of somebody, and so, I'll send them an email. And I know in one place, one of the client officers, they literally email each other, even though they're at one end of the floor.
yeah,
Yeah, they're no
yeah.
more than about 90 to 100 feet apart from each other,
Mm.
but they email which is
That's true. Yeah, no.
it's almost like a deliberate breakdown of social um, cohesion.
Yeah,
Breaking down the very fact of who and what we are. Even to the point. I know it's a rather touchy subject. Even identity politics or
mm.
you know, some more people are more victims than others. You know, divide and conquer, divide and rule. You know, 20
Yeah,
years ago, you know, if somebody had a certain different perspective on their identity, you know, you just, you know, you may grumble, but you know, you didn't go around sort of questioning it.
no,
I mean, you know, maybe there were, you know, some rather troubled times in certain different towns, but as a whole, you never heard of it. I mean, now it's just sort of, it's like there's a deliberate forcing
yeah,
on what we accept as being the norm. But
mm.
now, you know, it's just like all these other different forms of identity and groups, you know. And it's
Exactly, yeah. Which may go to suit some people when it comes to things like Dogman, Bigfoot, things
mm,
like that. You know, trying to keep it a bit more surreptitious, keep it away from prying eyes. Um, Years ago, you were talking about, you know, in folklore, these things have been around for years and written about
yeah,
and
yeah,
carved, and they had been because you know we would live in villages, we would live in small townships, but if one of the small townships or uh, another one nearby had lost a member of their township,
mm,
people would be out. They would know, the word
yeah,
would get around and people would be out searching and da-da-da.
yeah,
It would kind of, and because they were out more in the woods, forests, and you know, hunting, foraging, they were more aware of what was out there than we are.
oh yeah, yeah,
And that's what
yeah,
makes it such a surprise to people. That's why you get people which obviously, oh no, that's rubbish. What are you talking about? You didn't say anything. You know, all of that brigade.
yeah,
Mm, because you know it's kind of, there's no excuse to go out there unless you want to go out there.
mm,
You
yeah.
know, which is a pity, really. You know, um, do you think that Dogman is um, a a creature which has been manufactured? I say that because I've heard a lot on different social media that uh, Dogman could be some kind of created super soldier.
I look. I mean, okay. Well, you know, with some of the recent DNA testing that they've done with the Sabe, you know, the Bigfoot,
Yeah.
96% human, female, 4% male, unknown, and they're
Mm,
currently trying to deconstruct the male DNA at the moment, trying to find out what it is.
yeah.
But you know, for that being to exist, something from outside must have interfered with maybe 2 or 3 different biological species to come and create uh, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So they've been around 30,000 years, according to the DNA, human female DNA clock. I think um, the wolf people have been around the same length of time. Because I mean, even if you look at some of the earlier legends, I mean, there is King Lysis of Arcadia who tricked Zeus into eating human dead meat,
Mm,
and for his sins, Zeus turned him into a wolf man. So you know, it's not like snapping his fingers. But you know, there must have been some sort of biochemistry involved in order to create such a creature.
yeah.
Um, I'm pretty sure that you know, maybe in America or Canada, you know, certainly they've try to capture specimens and use them.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't think they're part of a super soldier program. I know, like DARPA, part
Yeah.
of the defense,
Yeah.
and they're always coming up with some weird and wonderful, wacky projects and ideas. I'm pretty sure, our own MOD has come up with special programs that kind of put at the feet of certain universities in Cambridge and Oxford. But I don't think they're the result of a secret government program. I think many thousands of years ago, an outside source from above created, Bigfoot, and the same with the wolf people, maybe even the rake, even mermaids, maybe, or mermen. It just seems to be like that. Like whoever, whether you want to call them the anarchy or the LOM, certainly some higher intelligence came down and decided to run different sort of biological cross-species breeding programs. One came up with the Sabe. One came up with the wolf people. I mean, whoever came up with a rake, that skeletal white skin looking thing, must have had a really bad day at work. Could come up with something like that. But all the others, I think definitely, they both possess a whole box of tricks, which I'm sure to previous humans, they just look almost supernatural. But to them, it's, they are, what they can do is natural to them. And basically, I take it as natural. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's still maybe half a dozen things that I know they can do, but I just can't wrap my head around how they do it.
It's the supernatural part, I think, the cloaking part, which makes a lot of people think, is it because it is just so unnatural to
but
do that?
it's it's still there. I mean when you look at that hair sample they got from a salad, there's like in the follicle root there's like a sac full of oil that secretes, and when you hold it under certain different types of light, the hair disappears. I mean the best example I can think of is that experiment where you get a big jug of water, you get a test tube, put it in the middle, you sink it in, and you can still see it. But as soon as you sink that tube and the water fills in, pushing the air out, you can't see it. But it's still there. That's the best analogy I can come up with.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's it's a good one because it's basically diffracting light, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a way of. I mean, even when they're cloaked in the right, especially in the woodland, in the right sunny conditions, they do still stand out. I mean, I've caught one of my headlights running across the road when I was driving to work one morning from Whitney about 3.5 months ago. But I just caught the way the light hit it, just caught the outline of the back going down to the tail.
Right. And that was cloaked?
Yeah.
And you just saw the outline?
Yeah, just the back, the way my main beams hit at a certain angle. I mean, I talked to a couple of other guys who said they've seen one running across the field in broad daylight, but they only know it's there because the way the sunlight hit it at a certain angle.
Yeah.
And it seems to glow.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same. The times I've seen them cloaking, I've seen it twice now,
Yeah.
and uh, you can see their outline,
Yeah.
but them themselves, it's as if they're slightly the, the bushes and the bushes and what's behind them is slightly blurred, but still there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just like people say, a Predator, that TV film, a cinema film,
Mm.
Predator, Schwarzenegger. That is the closest. Now, twice I've seen that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Filmed it
Yeah.
once. Filmed it
Yeah.
once. But when I filmed it, it was a long, quite a way away. But yeah, I saw something come out, and it just cloaked off. Just cloaked off, and uh, yeah, it could be the hair. Could be something in the hair. Maybe refracting light in a
Yeah.
certain way that you know.
Well, it's either bending light or somehow absorbing light.
Mm. I saw yesterday, funny enough, on TV, I saw this program about China have now, there's a British company as well working on it, but the
Mm.
Chinese company is like way ahead. And it's a clear sheet, almost like a clear plastic sheet, as if it's a tarp, but a clear
Mm.
tarp. And when they hold it in front of them, and they hold it up. Where am I? Yeah, they hold it up in front of them.
Yeah.
You see their head, right? But as they bring it down, see their head, but their body disappears
Yeah.
because this whole sheet and of course the army, the Americans are gagging for this. They believe the Americans have already got something much like it, and it works in the same way as a British firm that's got one as well. Works in the same way where it just like you're talking about, it diffracts light off. So
Yeah.
light comes in, but you can't see yourself, but you can see
Yeah.
what's behind you. There's a brilliant excerpt of this guy on a beach, and the ocean's behind him, and he walks behind this panel. As he walks behind it, he disappears, but you can still see the water and the waves
Mm.
coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. I can believe that. I think the
Crazy what
Americans
they got now. No batteries required as well.
takes a change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. The ones that a couple of things that the only one to ask you a couple of things really, and that is there any circumstances that you have to go through to have any interactions? Now, when I
Right.
say that, is there kind of like a certain way you act, or you have to go in through a certain way into a woods, or
If I'm going into a new area, I'll be thinking or talking, not out loud, but saying like I'm not here to hurt. Well, I mean, I'm just here to look and observe and research, and maybe I'll
okay.
take the odd video, But when I go to my usual haunt, it's like I'm just talking to a mate. Even though there's no one there, I'm just talking like, oh, the missus been breaking my balls again, or just talking about. I don't know why. When I go there, when I started out, I was like, I'm not here to hurt or harm anyone. I don't want to be harmed.
Yeah.
I'm just here to learn, observe, listen, research, catalogue, blah blah blah. I say I went through this 6-8 month period of just being put through the ringer, and everything just like every time I had an interaction or saw them, always had a feeling of like nothing's going to harm me, nothing's going to happen. And then say that there was the one time where I thought, if I keep going, I'm lunch, and I was scared. I was absolutely petrified. It's been a couple of times when I've been really let out of my skin,
Mm.
but overall, when I go there, I'm just talking like we are now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I know they're around, but normally it takes like 5-10 minutes and they're there. They just know you're coming.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, the one time, the only other time where I've literally been on my toes for like over 4 hours. I went to Thetford Forest, and there was like 4 locations I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was getting a real offbeat vibe about this place. And there was a point where I was sat in the car having lunch, and this, whatever it was landed square in the middle on top of the roof. Oh, that time I was scared. Just like someone had throw something. But the last location I went to, I was walking down this lane, and there were some structures. You know, you can get the one where they literally put a branch like that, and then they build off the side.
Yeah.
And then I'm walking down. I look over to my right, and again I noticed this structure, but there's something solid. It's like a black mass, and it had I could see 2 yellow eyes looking at me.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it, and I said, "Oh, you know, I'm just going to take a couple of pictures, and I'm going." But you know, I had this like feeling of like, you know, what are you doing here? You know, it's just, you know, sometimes you get a feeling. I mean, like first time I went to Glass House, I was just, oh, I get what. Or one time when I was at the May Lane, the first times are going, you get like this 50-50. There's a curiosity, and then you get a feeling of like, how the hell do you know we're here?
Yeah.
You know.
Do you
But
think
Glass House,
sorry,
people have gone missing down there.
what was that?
Yeah.
Recently?
Over the years, the last one was a builder, a brickie, and he was a buffed up guy.
Can you describe what is a glass house? What?
It's near Forest of Dean.
Okay.
Look up Glass House, Gloucestershire, and I think you go off the A40 or 41. You go 2 miles down a country lane, and it's just like you've gone back 100 years. It's a beautiful place.
Okay.
It's so quiet, but it's so quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been there. Yet. No.
I had first time we went there. I took the missus, and there's a hash ram community, and the only thing you hear is a huge diesel generator they've got going.
Okay.
Right. Birds, you got sheep in the field. The birds are flying. They don't make a sound. So anyway, we're walking around this path, and there's sort of like a gate, private property, but the pathway carries around to the left. I mean, it's wide enough for a minivan and all that sort of stuff. And as we're going round to the left, we start going up an incline, and off to my left, there's a huge one, sat on its haunches, and I look at it, and it moves like greased lightning. It goes from left to right. It goes right across the front of my missus. She didn't even see it, and into the bushes.
Oh wow!
So I then said to the missus, I said, just stop a minute, turn around, give us that big gorgeous smile. So I took a picture. Now my missus is 5'11", and behind it there's a fence, and there you can see the head. It's on all fours. It's looking at me. So this thing must have been about 5'7", 5'5", on all fours.
She must have felt so uncomfortable.
No, I didn't tell her it was there. I didn't. That's why I said turn around. Because if she carried on walking and seen it, fudge knows what she would have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Do you think there's different types of dogmen? You get the type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 3 being the ones you see.
I really I must admit, I'm a bit sort of confused by this type, whatever. I know Native Americans say there's 7 types, but for me in this country, we certainly got the hyena-looking one. We got the German Shepherd Wolf type looking one, which are the ones I see a lot. But for me, I just go long tail, short tail, no tail. And the
Okay.
one my guys have got long tails. I mean, I've had one literally jump out in front of me in midair at Nooney Woods, going down a disused. It must have been a road of some sort, but it's overgrown. And you're walking down, and I know what this thing was following me. It wasn't making any, but it was noisy. And just as I'm getting to the end, it just like literally almost must have been about 20, 30 foot in the air. It just kind of went like that. It was almost in slow motion like that, leaping. It was the most gracious, most beautiful, it was the most imperious thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
literally leapt like it was going from the treetops, from one treetop into another, but it just leapt. And its forearms, forelegs were stretched out. The rear legs were stretched out. Its body was stretched. But it seemed to glide. It seemed to hang. like it was giving a demonstration of elegance.
Yeah, it's effortless, isn't it?
Yeah.
The movement is effortless.
It just seemed to hang there, and I was just like, oh my God.
Mm.
It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen.
I've seen them in trees, and where they've gone from one tree to another, and there's no hesitation. There's no hesitation. They don't. They're just kind of just, and they you know, when they leap across, they leap with such. The tree they're leaping from doesn't wave about. It's not like they're kind of using it as a catapult. They just jump across with such ease.
Yeah.
And very little movement.
Yeah,
Very little movement.
I mean, I've seen a cub run up a tree, just like this black blur. You know, just moving like a cruise missile across the ground, straight up. I mean, I've had one run up to me twice when I've been sat there having coffee and sandwiches. Quite literally, right up to my feet, like put the anchors on and then run off. I was like, okay. And then 10 minutes later, it's done the same thing. And I was like, has someone given you a double dare or something? You know. Actually, there was one of the pictures I sent you that is of a cub just bimbling through the trees.
Okay. I'm going to get all these. I've put some photos up already. I'm going to get the rest up and also list them for people to see.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I've had
one. You know, I just want to ask you one thing. I've seen lately, and this is your advice, really. I've been in the woods. These woods I've been going to have been towards Chelmsford, and
all right.
But I had a tip off a lot of activity down that way, and I've seen this before where I found clothing. Now, high up, we're not talking where it's just someone's chucked it. They've tied a knot in a pair of jeans on the very, very, very top of thick branch of a tree. A pair of jeans and a t-shirt. You get a t-shirt on another tree, but ludicrously high. So high as in fact that a half naked person climbing up a tree to tie his jeans off on it, wouldn't do it.
Yeah, do you know, unfortunately, I have no clue Why they
Is
have
that
a
about?
fascination?
What is it about?
I have no idea. Not unless they got a clothing fetish or they like nicking clothes offline. I mean, I have found kids' Wellingtons in the middle of the woods. I mean, in excellent condition, brand new,
Yeah,
and you start, and obviously you find a pair of kids' Wellingtons. I mean, we're talking like 5, 6 year old,
yeah,
and then you think, oh my God, please, I don't want to find a kid's dead body
yeah,
here, you know.
yeah.
And you find nothing. I mean, I found a body warmer. I found a coat. I found shirts. Um, I found riding boots. A mate of mine who goes, I introduced him into the subject because he was telling me about some weird stuff that happened to him. And he found like a female's woolen beret halfway up a tree. And he said, I was looking at this thing. He said, I just couldn't figure out how it got
Mm,
up there. Now, I don't know whether it's like a case of, when people sit down and then the hand creeps in and takes it, and then you're looking around going like, where the hell is
mm.
it? Uh, I just, I have no idea why, but I know what you mean. I found
Yeah,
clothing myself, and I mean, like the Wellingtons, the kids' Wellingtons. I was just like, there's no way any normal parent would let their kid walk back in thick mud.
no,
So
no.
so they must have been taken from another location and then just put there. And I think sometimes they leave items for people deliberately to be deliberately found
Mm.
in such
I
a
mean, the
way.
most
Like,
upsetting, the most upsetting for me was seeing at Rendlesham Forest. I
mm,
saw a dog's lead and collar
yeah,
separately. So the lead was on the floor, but the collar was right up high. I only spotted
yeah,
it because I had the camera on zoom, and I thought, "What the hell is that?" And I saw something glinting, and it was the buckle on it.
yeah.
But you could never hope to get it up there by throwing it up there.
No, no,
Never. So very, very. It's just the clothing does bug me because it's like it's where I find it is very strange. It's
yeah,
like kind of yeah. I mean, I walk literally an hour 20 minutes into this forest. An hour 20 minutes of hiking.
mm, yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah,
quick. I'm not quick. Not the quickest in the world. But I would say I'm sort of, if I God forbid had an accident, I always let people know where I'm going. But yeah, I'd be in Stook for a good long time.
yeah, yeah.
So, and it's there right in the middle. It's quite dark. It's right in the middle of this big, well, not wood forest really, and it's and you find the clothing, and you're like, what?
Yeah. It's a real head scratcher. It's just one of those things. Hopefully, someday that someone smarter than us or someone who does know decides to spill the beans. But it's the thing is, it's the condition of the clothing because
Yeah,
it,
yeah, it's virtually new.
yeah, yeah, and it's not like it's been left there forever. So you're thinking, well, okay. I mean, I've lost a scarf. I've forgotten to pick it up when I've left someone's
Mm.
house. Blah blah blah. But when you consider the environment where you find these things, you'll be like, well, surely you wouldn't let your 5, 6 year old kid walk in socks through thick mud, the back of the car, or
Yeah,
um, a bobble hat, a body warmer, a jacket. Uh, yeah, it's yeah. I, I don't know, but I know exactly what you mean.
and
I'm sure.
they're new, aren't they? They look the
Yeah,
ones I've seen are virtually new clothing. They're not. I mean, you know, it, yeah, it doesn't look like you know, with jeans, you get like if someone was wearing them and they were walking into the forest, it's over here anyway. It's usually muddy. It's usually muddy. So the bottom of my trousers always get mud all around them.
Yeah.
Can't help it. But not a drop, not a thing on his jeans. Not that I could see. I couldn't get to them because they were too high. But I've seen t-shirts, jeans, like yourself, a whole menagerie of different clothing.
Yeah, I don't know why they're there, or I can only. It's like you know they like raping horses, so I can only assume it's like some sort of fetish thing. You know,
Oh, yeah,
they got their own peculiarities.
yeah. I hadn't
You
heard of
know.
that before. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. They do. Yeah.
You. Everyone says they got glowing eyes. Sometimes I've seen glowing eyes, but during the day, not so much.
The vast majority of the ones up at Nooney are solid black eye. There's one or two have golden sort of amber eyes. The only time where I've seen them glow, hand on my heart, this is true. When when I was first starting getting into this thing, like if I'd be in the kitchen and I'm making a cup of tea, I used to see like two red dots at the end of the garden. I was like, what the hell's that? And I'd open the door and I'd look out and I'm like, and eventually, you know, the more you get into it, the more it's like, oh, the red eyes, they got red eyes. And of course, red means anger. You know, if they got red eyes, you know, they're like super peeved.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I'd do, I would open the door, leave it there, have a cuppa, have a fag. I'd say, come on in then. You know, there's no, you know, I'd be saying, come in. And over a while, the eyes started going from red to golden, golden colour.
Mm.
But that was about 4 or 5 months. That's going back to 2017, 2018 time.
Yeah,
But
strange. I've
yeah,
seen the golden eyes. I've always seen the amber golden
yeah. But
type.
they do have a solid black eye. No whites. It's just black.
Okay. No
And
pupils. Pupils.
no
Black.
it's just solid black eye.
Okay.
In fact, the puppy one, the cub in the den, you look at its eyes, they're solid black. I've got pictures of them with the golden eyes. There's one cobalt blue. I've got one where they got it was a mix of ginger and white coloured. Excuse me, and that's got like whites with a solid black pupil.
Okay.
And then I say that one way there was one that used to sit in the back garden, and I used to originally I thought, well, you know, what the hell are those two red dots? And initially I thought it was light refraction somehow getting out into the back garden. But then over a period of time, you start, you know, turn the lights off, and then no, there's two red lights there. Then you start, you know, the more you get into it, the more you learn. Then you're like, no, those are eyes.
Mm.
Then you realise red eyes means anger.
Red
So
is red's normally a warning, isn't it? Red
yeah.
in the nature. It's normally a warning sign.
So I take a chance, open the door, cup of tea, fag, like, come on in. You know, nothing to be afraid of. It's all good. We're not going to hurt you, or anything like that. And you know, a couple of times I used to think, yeah, well, what happens if something does happen? But nothing
Well,
ever
you got
did.
some bottle doing that.
And then after a time, the red went to gold. So
Okay.
and then towards the end of 2018, that stopped.
Mm. Funny enough, I've only ever seen the yellow sort of glowing eyes, amberish colour, but that was on what I call type 2. You would call like a short tail.
Yeah.
more like a gorilla-ish, stockier, bigger, wider. I mean, fatter.
Yeah.
I'd say.
If you want those, go up to the Wirral. The
Right.
Wirral, Everton,
Yeah.
Western Cheshire. They're supposed to be around there. I've got a mate round there. He's got pictures on.
Yeah. I got one on video. Once again, by mistake,
Yeah,
I was just videoing a structure, and the structure sort of was had a pallet, funny enough, up against it.
yeah,
So of course, you know, a lot of people thought, "Oh, man-made," because it's got a pallet up against it.
yeah,
Anyway, I posted the video because I thought, well, it's odd where it is because it's quite deep in the wood. It's and
mm,
somehow it was the entrance would be too small. If I was going to make bushcraft place, which I have, I've done bushcraft.
yeah,
I don't want to get on my hands and knees in the mud to get into it
yeah,
if I can help it. You know, uh, this the entrance was too low for this. It was quite
mm,
low, but um, anyway, so I done the video, posted it, but once again, subscriber turned up in comments. Oh, Phil, just spotted something moving inside that shack, that cabin with the
mm,
pallet against it. I was like, what? And they said, yeah. So I went over it, had a look. Sure as eggs is eggs, they were right. I missed it. There was this
yeah,
large creature blinking, and its head was moving inside, looking at the camera, and it had no long muzzle, quite short.
yeah. Short muzzle. Yeah,
Yeah, short muzzle. Quite an ugly thing. Dogman, when you see like a long tail one,
mm,
chiseled, it looks like a proper predator. It's a
yeah,
chiseled kind of a German Shepherd looking long
yeah,
muzzle, pointed, but uh it's got beauty to it. It has got a beauty to it. I
yeah,
think it's quite a handsome beast. I know a lot of people are going to think that's really strange for me to say that, but uh this thing, the type 2, the short tail one's quite kind of ugly looking.
mm.
um And you can see it inside just looking, and its eyes blinking. Yeah, moving inside. And yeah, it's another thing. But its eyes, yeah, orange.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they will utilize if there's a piece of timber. Okay, it's been cut by a machine,
yeah,
but they'll take it. If they think they can use it, they'll take it. I mean, there's a couple of TP structures in Nooney Woods where they've used cut wood, and of course,
right,
obviously, you would say, oh yeah, that's definitely uh, man-made, but it's not. I mean, there is a video from Virginia where a guy's driving down down a country lane, and there's a stack of cut timber, and there's one of these 8-footer werewolves picking and choosing what wood to take. So I mean, they will utilize
yeah, yeah,
cut wooden beams. Even if the tree's been felled, without having to do it themselves, because it just makes their job, it makes their life easier when they've got custom cut timber at hand.
A few moments later.
I parked up one early morning, probably about 4 o'clock, and there was this red orb going through the top of the trees on my right. This is on Dead Man's Lane, Nooney Woods. Now the road, it's an A road. Well, no, probably a B road. It goes down and then swings around to the right, heading towards Woodcote. Now, there's another single lane that veers left and carries on. To the right of that little junction, there's a field, but there's quite a tall hedge.
yeah.
And on the other side of the field, there's a house. But anyway, so it's pitch black, early hours of the morning, red orb just slowly flying through the top of the trees, just bimbly, really.
Okay.
But I look down to the field, and there's this bright, luminous light just shining up the whole place. The light's coming through the bushes, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to stick around. But this red orb was flying back towards whatever was in that field.
So the light was shining, lighting up everything, and it was, what color was that? Was it white?
Oh, it just like the worst LED light you can imagine.
But it was white.
It was white light. It was just bright. And it was in the field, and this red orb was just flying through the treetops, going towards it, and it was a gentle, like a gentle motion, just no sound. And I saw that. I looked down the end of the road where the junction was, and the light coming out of the field, and I thought, no, I ain't sticking around for this. Got that. Oh, that was gone.
The light, did it come down as a beam in, or was it?
No,
was it like?
It was in the field. Whatever was emanating that light source, it was in the field.
So it was emanating it, right? So just to get it, so the light was coming from the field up, or was there
out, everywhere? It was just projecting everywhere. And this red orb, where I normally park next to the steel gate, I just noticed it flying in the treetops, just ever so gently. And I was looking, and obviously, this light was there, and I just thought, I mean, I've seen UFOs or UVPs or whatever they call them now. Seen them more than once, but this was just like, it made me really uncomfortable. So I just got back in the car and I just drove off.
How long ago was this? How long ago was this?
About 3 years ago.
Okay.
I wasn't going to hang around. So
why? What feeling did you get from it?
Oh, it was just, I'd never seen anything that close up.
Because there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't hang around seeing some of the things you've seen with Dogman.
No, but to say in association with an aerial vehicle of unknown origin and werewolf in the same spot, that's the only one, about the closest I could say experience I've had. But I mean, I don't know if the two are connected, or there's somehow some sort of loose connection that goes back many years. But to sort of say where I've had a extreme bright light source in the middle of the field, and this small red orb just gently flying along in the treetops towards it. That's about the closest thing I could say. I mean, I'm not saying that there is a connection. I'm just saying that's my only experience.
I honestly do believe there is a connection, because the amount of times I've seen either before or after witnessing or capturing on video a Dogman, what could have been Dogman. Because these things morph in and out so easily. I've also seen no end of orbs. I've even seen, and this is very rare, and I've got it on video, a black, shiny, reflective, obsidian black, reflective orb dancing around the trees with another white, brilliant white orb. And when I've captured it and I slowed the film right down, they were moving so fast it looked like an abacus. So on the video, you'll see that at one part of the film, it whether it's moving so quick, and I was filming that day at 30 frames per second, but whether it's moving so quick that it fooled the camera into thinking that it was in two places at once, but it looked, one singular black ball looked like an abacus of balls. I've very often seen them as a pretense, if you like, a portent for a Dogman sighting, or just after.
Okay.
Always in woods. Always in woods.
Yeah.
Orbs, very, very common.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some pictures of orbs, red ones, blue ones. I know fairies are somehow connected with werewolves, especially in the bluebell wood.
Mm.
You know, and normally that's part of Irish folklore. And you know, when I first heard it, I thought, that's interesting.
Irish
then-
and Isle of Man. Isle of Man's another big place for fairies.
Yeah, so obviously, you know, I go to the woods and there's bluebells, and I think, well, blow me, you know, there's wolves here, there's bluebells, so they're fairies.
Yeah.
And I've actually got a picture of one. I went to a place called North Lee, which is not far from Whitney. And, you know, I've got them on in photos. But the only time I've physically seen one, a fairy, okay, driving early hours to work from Whitney to Reading. And I just come out the last roundabout out of Whitney. I go about half a mile down the road. Got my pitch black, lights full beam, and something about 6-8 inches long flies right across the front of me. And all I could think was, I went, "F me, that's got legs." I was like, that had legs, human-shaped legs, big
Yeah.
wings.
Yeah.
And you know, it reflects, you know, it shone in the light. But the only thing I could think about was like, I went, "F me, that's got legs."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's the
And
first and only time I've physically seen one. But you know, I've got them in like videos and photographs where there are bluebells and there are wolves. So
and wolves as well. Yeah.
yeah. So it's the same here as it is in Isle of Man or Ireland.
Yeah.
Or I just wonder if that could apply.
Have you seen fairy doors on the trees yet?
Yeah, Wiltshire,
Little
the woods.
tiny fairy doors at the base of a tree, and usually it's
Yeah.
gifting around it as well.
Yeah. There's a couple of woods in Wiltshire, all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Cheddar Gorge. I saw one. There's one in the woods where I am, because I'm in Harlow. I'm based, and in the woods right near where we are, there's a door in a tree. I videoed it. I put it on video. It's like it's the cutest thing ever. And then people are going to ask, "Oh, did you open the door?" No, I didn't open the door. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't open the door.
But what's interesting, even when they get, you know, you can get these Lilliputian model houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, so I know in a couple of woods in Wiltshire where they've taken doors off these model houses and then nailed them to a tree or to a frame.
Yeah.
It just shows you folklore in this country is not dead.
Oh no! Very much alive. Very much alive.
Especially in rural areas, which kind of gives me a sense of pride in our own people that, you know, they've not forgotten.
No.
That they're
in
some areas.
They still have, because my background, very close ties, and I lived for a number of years in Suffolk, around Lakenheath, Basin Headlands,
Yeah.
And the church, where that famous dog, that famous black shook, stove through the church door, killed parishioners, and you can see the claw marks.
Claw marks on the inside of it, 1577 or something like that, yeah.
That's it, yeah. They still celebrate up there. They got a day, haven't they? They celebrations.
Lightning storm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And they found the later on they found the skeletal remains of it.
Yeah, I've seen the one from a monastery.
Yeah, well, they think it's the same dog, because they believe that dog also went to that, which is nearby. It's not very far away. There's like this other church or monastery place where they're doing archaeological digs, and they found the skeletal remains.
Right,
massive big dog. Yeah.
Yeah, 2014, 2015.
Yeah. It's like, oh, listen, would you come on again? Because I think I'd like to next time, sort of like just like pick your brains about the lights, and you have just discuss about the lights and UFOs more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah,
I'll tell you
absolutely.
why, because I get 2 hours on this. After that, it kind of kicks me off, and I'd rather than kick me off, I'd rather say in a nice way, I'm going to wrap it up. Is that
Yeah, no
cool?
problem, mate. Yeah.
All right,
Actually,
Ian. Can you say again how people can find your YouTube?
yeah, it's Ian7477 Wood. That's my YouTube channel.
Okay, that's cool.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Lovely, and I'll put it on description as well. And
Thank you.
thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, no
And
problem, mate. Thank you.
really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right,
me
take
too.
care.
Thank you.
Bye
You
bye.
too, mate. Bye.